Now, whatever job prospects the future holds for our young people, it's unlikely they'll find careers now in mining. But where will they find work, and do they have the skills to do it? There's a heavy emphasis on providing apprenticeships, but many employers say young people are having to be taught maths, English and IT before they can even begin training them for the workplace. Our political editor John Hurst reports.
These are Derby's very own boys from the black stuff, repairing cracked pavements and filling in potholes. It's unglamorous but essential work. And for 19-year-old Adrian Hex, it's a job opportunity through a new City Council-run apprenticeship scheme. He's fortunate. Not all young job seekers have the basic education skills to be even considered for an apprenticeship.
It gives me a new set of skills and be able to hopefully have a career out of this. In the next 5 or 6 years I can obviously go into my own business with the skills I've learned.
The rate of youth unemployment in the East Midlands now stands at just over 20%, but what's more significant are the number of young people neither in employment, education or training, the so-called NEETs. That now stands at 74,000, and that's gone up by 3,000 since the coalition came into power. To combat youth unemployment, Labour-run Derby City Council is to double the number of apprenticeships to 75.
It is a bit difficult, especially as a lot of older people are still staying on because the retirement age is getting on longer, and a lot of skilled jobs are being taken by the older people still.
It's also expanding its scheme that places young job seekers with local private firms in an attempt to plug a growing skills gap.
Well, I just worry, John, that with almost 1 million young people out of work across the country, we're heading very fast to having a lost generation. And we feel it's important as city leaders to set an example to other people across the city to say, take on apprenticeships, give them the skills that they really need to be suitable for a job in today's labour market and support them through that.
This bit of kit at a Nottingham manufacturer is also for a drop or two of the black stuff, oil. Filter Technique makes the filtration equipment that cleans up fuel. The business plans to expand, but a lack of engineering skills in the local jobs market, especially in basic maths and science, is becoming a real headache.
It's tricky, people are out there, but it can be hard work. That's right across the piece, from shop floor, design, all the way through to our sales team. It's quite hard to find them.
David Kirkham, a former civil servant, may offer a solution. His government-backed Employer First programme is creating an alternative job centre for firms needing those skilled staff.
There's a real cliff edge looming if we don't do the right thing right now to engage young people and respond to the kind of entry-level work that the sector needs. But then there's also issues around sort of technical skills and what we call intermediate skills as businesses operating in the sector expand and they take advantage of the market growth.
As the region's economy hots up, the worry now is whether we've got enough skilled workers ready for the revival.
So our businessman there was saying that the revival could really be snuffed out because there aren't enough young people coming through with the right sort of skills, with maths and science, for example. That's more than slightly worrying.
Absolutely, and I think it's been a systematic of our education system for a long time. Now, having said that, there are lots of excellent schools across the East Midlands, and in Loughborough we have a scheme called Bridge to Work, which is working between the college, Loughborough College, the schools and employers to make sure that young people and their parents are aware of apprenticeships, traineeships, all the work experience opportunities that there are out there. But there is an issue, and every business meeting I go to, businesses say we can't find the right people. It's partly the academics, English and maths. It's also about employability skills, and there is an issue there. And it is something I think it's going to be solved by schools, businesses, and government working together.
And Toby, the government does say that they're taking on more apprentices. Not the government, but they are making more apprenticeships more than ever before. So you have to accept that they are tackling the problem of youth unemployment.
Well, no, I think they're two different questions. I think there's been some really positive steps over the course of the last 7 or 8 years on apprenticeships, and I think there's a pretty broad cross-party consensus that apprenticeships apprenticeships are very valuable. But with the figures that you showed on your screen there show there is still a long, long way to go, and actually the number of people not in employment, education and training is going up, not down over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. What I think we need is to have an economy that works on a skill basis with a long-term growth. So we're seeing a lot of the recovery based on property boom in the south rather than in the real economy that people in this area could benefit from.
But it's come to something, hasn't it, when we're having to train these young people in maths, English, IT, before they can even go on to these apprenticeships. How on earth has that happened, that they're coming out of school ill-prepared for the workplace?
Well, I think, unfortunately, under the last government, we didn't see the emphasis on standards that we're now seeing. Michael Gove is very, very determined to ensure that higher standards. We also saw grade inflation.
Really agree with you
well,
on
straight
that
up, Toby's of course not going to agree with me on that. We saw grade inflation, where people were told they were getting A's and they were doing very well. That isn't fair on the young person. It isn't also fair on the employers, who need to know they've got measurable standards of exam qualifications. And now that's why the traineeship's been introduced, so that young people can catch up with those skills.
Your fault then.
Under the Conservatives, prior to us coming to power in 1997, over half of all schools would not have 30% of the kids getting 5 good GCSEs. By the end of the Labour government, virtually every single school in the land had that. Now, the economy's changed, the number of unskilled jobs that are in there have reduced, and there's still a long, long way to go. But the progress that was made by by people in our education sector was fantastic. So what would you do now,
and how would you pay for that, though, in the
Well, I
current
think what you need to do
situation?
now is partly look at the kind of economy that you want and have a real investment in skill, in actually making things again, much more manufacturing. We're seeing manufacturing continue to fall. But it's also about having a real investment, a lifelong investment in young people. We saw with the Sure Start schemes that were set up under the last government that from the start of the young people's lives right the way through, we needed that investment. But that's got to carry on for year after year, because that is a long-term programme.
Clearly something has to be done, doesn't it, Nikki? Very briefly, because as we hear, it's on a cliff edge.
Look, we know that youth unemployment is still too high. There's a lot more to be done to tackle it.
Okay.
But we're going to do it, if we work together in a partnership.
Okay.